Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. Chapter 1. The Introduction. In the quiet town of Cedar Grove, nestled between the rolling hills and dense woodlands of the Pacific Northwest, life seemed unhurried, uncomplicated. To the untrained eye, it was a postcard-perfect community where children played freely in the fields and neighbors exchanged pleasantry. However, beneath the surface of this idyllic facade simmered a darker reality, a threadbare tension that would erupt into violence in the most unexpected way. On a chilly autumn morning in October 2019, the tranquil routine of Cedar Grove was shattered. The sun struggled to cast away the morning fog when the early news on the local radio turned sinister. A body was discovered in the woods, just a short distance from the old stone bridge trail, a popular hiking path frequented by families and outdoor enthusiasts. The announcement sent shockwaves through the community, a crime so out of place that many struggled to wrap their heads around the concept. Detectives soon arrived at the scene, a remote location thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. What they found was unsettling: the lifeless body of a young woman, bound and hidden beneath a thin layer of foliage, as if the earth itself was attempting to conceal her fate. She was dressed in a light sweater, the fabric now tattered and stained. A few feet away, a camera lay on the ground, its lens cracked and dirt-encrusted. As the news spread, fear gripped the townsfolk. This was more than just a shocking event. It was a harbinger, a reminder that even the most serene havens can harbor unfathomable darkness. Who had done this? And more importantly, why? The echoes of Cedar Grove's tranquility were abruptly replaced by a relentless questioning as each resident pondered the possibility that their neighbor could be harboring a monster. Chapter 2. The Victim. The young woman found in the woods was identified as Emily Carter, a 26-year-old freelance photographer known for her keen eye and unyielding passion for capturing the world around her. In the days following the discovery of her body, a portrait of her life emerged. Emily was vibrant, adventurous, and deeply loved by those fortunate enough to know her. Her friends described her as someone who sought beauty in the routines of life, whether in the dew-kissed petals of wildflowers or the vibrant glow of a summer sunset. Having moved to Cedar Grove from the bustling streets of Seattle a few years prior, Emily embraced the slower pace of life. She quickly made a name for herself, becoming a staple at local art shows and community events. Her photography telling stories that resonated with the heart of the town. An integral part of a tight-knit group of creatives, she often organized photo walks, inviting others to join her in exploring the hidden corners of the landscape that surrounded them. As the community mourned the loss of one of their own, they shared stories that painted a fuller picture of Emily's character. Yet, beneath the shared memories lay whisper certainties that no one wanted to voice aloud. Some recalled a change in her demeanor in the weeks leading up to her death. Friends noted that Emily had grown distant, often buried in her thoughts during their outings. One close friend, Lisa, shared an unnerving incident. Emily had mentioned feeling watched during her evening walks alone. She dismissed the feeling as a figment of her imagination, but the anxiety lingered like the last remnants of twilight before night fell. As more information came to light, the friendly facade of Cedar Grove began to splinter, revealing the undercurrents of fear and suspicion that festered in the aftermath of Emily's tragic end. Secrets began to surface, the secrets that might explain why a bright future had been so ruthlessly extinguished. Chapter 3. The Crime Scene. The investigation team descended upon the Stonebridge Trail as the sun broke through the morning fog, illuminating the forest floor with a haunting light. The atmosphere felt heavy, a world away from the serene beauty of Cedar Grove. Detective Mark Jensen, a seasoned investigator with nearly 2 decades of experience, surveyed the scene with a practiced eye. He noted the way the trees loomed overhead, their gnarled branches reaching like skeletal fingers toward a sky that felt too bright for such darkness. Emily's body had been discovered a few feet from the main trail, obscured behind a dense thicket of brambles and underbrush. The crime scene technicians fanned out, meticulously examining every inch around her final resting place. As they worked, Jensen's focus was drawn to the camera on the ground. It was an expensive model, and he wondered if it held clues that could unravel the mystery of Emily's last moments. Carefully, a technician picked it up, brushing off the dirt. It was clear the camera had been damaged, but the memory card might still be intact. Jensen's heart raced at the thought of what it could reveal, perhaps her last photos, or even an unguarded moment captured, a glimpse into the raw realities of her final hour. As the team continued to gather evidence, Jensen began speaking with the officer who had first arrived on scene. "What do we know about the state of the body?" he asked, keenly aware that every detail mattered. The officer hesitated. She appeared to have been strangled, and there are bruises on her wrists indicating restraint. "It looks like she fought back." Jensen's mind raced with implications. Someone had been so desperate or so filled with rage that they had overpowered her, despite her evident struggle. Nearby, a small group of onlookers had gathered, their silhouettes stark against the towering trees, eyes wide with horror and curiosity. While Cedar Grove had certainly become a place of safety for many, the specter of evil now lay unmasked in the wood. It shifted on the breath of the breeze, filling the air with uncertainty as the community grappled with the grim realization that the killer remained unaccounted for, lurking somewhere among them. Chapter 4. The Early Investigation. As the initial shock began to settle over Cedar Grove, Detective Jensen launched into the early phases of the investigation, purposefully mapping out a timeline of Emily's last days. Every layer of Emily's life needed peeling back, and her close circle of friends was the first stop. In a small town where everyone seemed connected, the threads of relationships could lead him to vital discoveries. Jensen gathered everyone in the local community center, a room adorned with photographs of the town's past and bulletin boards, lined with flyers from various local events. The air was heavy with emotional tension. They were there to mourn, but also grapple with the realization that one of their own had been taken in an unforgivable act. Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice calm yet firm. "I know this is difficult, but we need your help to find out what happened to Emily." He focused on Lisa, who had always been the most outspoken of the group. "What can you tell us about her and the days leading up to her death?" Lisa's hands trembled as she recounted the feelings of unease that Emily had confided in her. Screaming sirens mixed with tears as she explained Emily's nighttime walks and her fears of being watched. "She said she felt someone following her," Lisa recalled, her voice quivering. "It scared her, but she brushed it off. I thought it was just paranoia." Jensen noted every detail, considering how such feelings could manifest into threat. He needed to interview the rest of her friends, but more crucially, he needed a wider net. Together with his team, he created a flyer featuring Emily's image, a burning reminder of their mission, asking anyone who might have seen her or knew of her whereabouts. in the days prior to come forth. As the days turned into weeks, the calm surface of Cedar Grove began to fracture. Anonymous texts blurred together, old rumors reignited. The community was gripped by uncertainty, a sense of vulnerability that replaced the once inviting warmth. And as the investigation crept like a shadow over the town, Emily's cheerful smile began to fade from storefronts, and the faces of her friends becoming a lingering question, a plea for justice that stirred like a restless wind through the street. Every passing day without answers only deepened the anticipation of an unsettling truth, inching closer to being unveiled. Chapter 5. The Dead Ends. Weeks passed, and with each dawn, new leads flickered into existence, only to extinguish in the light of reality. Patrol cars scoured the nearby trails, canvassing neighborhoods. But with every passing day, the sense of urgency waned, replaced by the chilling silence of unanswered questions. Detective Jensen knew that the clock was ticking. As time pressed on, the possibility of finding Emily's killer seemed to dim like the fading autumn light. Tips poured into the station, some credible, others completely off base. A retired couple recounted a strange man they spotted near the trail the week Emily went missing, claiming he lurked from a distance, hidden beneath the shadows of the trees. Jensen arranged for the couple to be sketch artists, but received a vague description in return, one that led to little more than a haunting silhouette. Examining Emily's digital footprint also posed frustrations. Her online presence was limited. She often preferred the solitude of nature to the noise of social media. Detective Jensen's hopes rested on her camera's memory card, and as forensic technicians continued to comb through the files, the anticipation grew. It became a beacon of hope in an otherwise dark time. However, as they retrieved images, it became evident that many were merely beautiful landscapes and candid snapshots from her last photo walks, each frame tinged with a palpable sense of loss. Next came a public appeal, a desperate cry for any information that could help push the investigation forward. Jensen stood at a podium in front of the Cedar Grove Town Hall, addressing community members gathered before him. Emily loved her home, and we want to bring her justice. If anyone knows anything, no matter how small, we urge you to come forward. No piece of information is too trivial. In the days that followed, silence remained. Confusion cloaked the streets, the shadows lengthening in the twilight. The case, once a thriving fire of urgency, had begun to cool, the embers flickering dangerously low. Each dead end only served to amplify the echoes of fear. Who could have committed such a cruel act? More importantly, why was this person still at large, freely walking the very same paths that Emily once cherished? The stagnant air hung heavy with unspoken fears, a suffocating reminder that justice remained painfully out of reach. Chapter 6. A break in the case. Just when the investigation began to feel stagnant, an unexpected call pulled Detective Jensen from the depths of frustration. It was 2 weeks after the town hall appeal when he received a tip that felt different, imbued with urgency. A local woman named Sarah, known for her analytical mind and penchant for photography, reached out. During her recent hike along the Stonebridge Trail, she had spotted something peculiar that had rattled her since that day. As Jensen met with Sarah at a diner just off the main road, He noted the erratic tapping of her foot beneath the tablet clear sign. "I was taking pictures for my blog," she explained. Voice trembled, "and I saw something sticking out from the underbrush at first. I thought it was just trash. But when I got closer, I realized it was a bag." Jensen leaned forward. And it didn't touch it. She swallowed hard, eyes wide with the weight of her words. "I was alone and didn't want to disturb anything. So I took some photos instead and left it there." With urgency now propelling him, Jensen asked her to lead him back to the site where she had made the discovery. They walked along the trail, the sun casting elongated shadows, its golden rays stark against the deepening hour. When they reached the area, Jensen's heart quickened at the sight. Just as Sarah had described, a faded brown canvas bag lay partially hidden under a pile of leaves. Cautiously, he knelt down, pulling the bag into the light. Unzipping it revealed a chilling collection of photographs, personal items like a pair of hastily discarded earrings, and a diary with Emily's name scrawled across the front. Each item seemed to breathe a haunting presence, a whisper from the past yearning to be uncovered. Detective Jensen flipped through the diary, apprehensive with each turn of the page. It was filled with entries detailing Emily's daily life, her hopes, the relationships she had nurtured, all punctuated by a growing sense of unease. "I feel watched," one entry read. Echoing Lisa's earlier claims, Jensen's mind raced. Could this be the missing piece to the puzzle? As they made their way back to the station, the darkness enveloping Cedar Grove felt different. That day a shift had occurred. The threads of Emily's life began to weave into a clearer tapestry. Only now a sense of danger clutched at the edges of the investigation. Knowing the case had taken a pivotal turn, Jensen felt renewed determination. Could this be the break they needed to finally unearth the truth? Chapter 7. The Suspect. With the canvas bag now logged into evidence, Detective Jensen shifted into high gear. The items inside had laid a foundation, a framework of direction from which the investigation could pivot. The diary's final entries provided not only insight into Emily's state of mind, but hints of the people surrounding her, weaving a complex web of potential suspects. Among the names she mentioned, one stood out: Ryan Daniels, a fellow photographer who had been part of Emily's inner circle. The two shared a close friendship, often collaborating on projects and sharing inspiration. But Jensen had caught whispers. A few friends noted that the relationship had grown strained over the past few months. While initially supportive, Ryan had become increasingly jealous of Emily's rising popularity within the local art community. Jensen's instinct told him to dig deeper. He soon arranged for a casual meeting with Ryan at the local coffee shop, a place where the comforting scent of fresh brew mingled with the gentle hum of muffled conversation. Ryan seemed on edge, his hands fidgeting as he stirred his coffee, anxious glances darting from the window to Jensen. Emily was talented, Jensen began, leaning against the counter, trying to ease the tension. Do you think she was ever afraid of someone? Any signs that might have tipped you off? Ryan's brow furrowed as he replied, "She was always a free spirit. Maybe too much so. She'd sometimes joke about being followed. But I never thought much of it." His voice held a hint of nervousness, a tightness that betrayed his composure. Jensen watched him closely, noting the way Ryan's eyes shifted, betraying a guarded demeanor. They discussed Emily's projects, reminiscing shared moments and lost opportunities. Despite his outward nonchalance, Jensen sensed an underlying turmoil, guilt, perhaps, or fear of questions he clearly did not want to answer. As they concluded the meeting, Jensen relied on his intuition. Something was amiss in Ryan's story. He left the coffee shop with more questions than answers, compelled to gather more information about Ryan's whereabouts around the time of Emily's murder. What he discovered in the following days would tighten the noose around Ryan's truth. Surveillance footage from a nearby convenience store captured someone matching Ryan's description, walking near the Stonebridge Trail on the night Emily had vanished. Ploy upon ploy of untangling this twist would soon lead the detective into a deeper understanding of the once trusted friend of man, who may be far more entwined in Emily's fate than mere jealousy might suggest. The clock was ticking, and clues were finally aligning, a convergence that filled the air with anticipation and dread. Chapter 8. The Trial. As the first glimmers of sunlight filtered into the courtroom, the air was thick with anticipation and a simmering tension. The trial of Ryan Daniels had captivated Cedar Grove, transforming the small town into a bustling center of media attention. Onlookers filled the gallery, voices hushed as they waited for the proceedings to commence. Detective Jensen took a seat at the back, reflexively tapping his pen against a notepad filled with notes from the investigation, a ritual of concentration he hoped would steady his nerves. Ryan sat at the front, now a starkly different figure from the affable friend everyone once knew. His expression, tense and guarded, betrayed the weight of the allegations against him. Charged with murder, he had pleaded not guilty, but the evidence, a tapestry woven from Emily's last days, her diary, and the captured footage painted a picture that was difficult to ignore. The prosecution's case came first, methodically laying out the timeline leading to Emily's tragic death. They played the surveillance footage for all to see. There, Ryan was caught in the glow of the streetlights, a ghost haunting the greenery of the familiar trail. The images sent a ripple through the gallery as whispers filled the air, palpable unease that heightened with each passing argument. The prosecutor's voice echoed clearly as she emphasized Ryan's jealousy, citing entries from Emily's diary that hinted at his possessiveness and emotional volatility. As testimony flowed, old friends took the stand, recounting Ryan's frustrations, painting a portrait of a man slowly consumed by resentment. Lisa spoke, her voice trembling as she described her last conversations with Emily. She was scared of someone watching her. I thought she was just stressed. But now it all feels so wrong, she admitted, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Defense counsel attempted to paint a different picture, calling friends to testify that Ryan was supportive and harmless. Yet, the cracks began to show as more intimate details of his relationships with Emily, and even snippets of tension that had bubbled beneath the surface emerged. It became increasingly difficult for the defense to cast Ryan in a benign light. As the days turned into weeks, Jensen observed closely. Wrestling with the emotional toll the trial was taking on the community. Cedar Grove was struggling to reconcile the betrayal, a murder that tore through their tightly woven fabric. In closing arguments, the prosecutor summoned the emotional gravity of Emily's story, invoking the collective grief of a community demanding justice. After a brief deliberation, the jury returned the verdict. Guilty of second-degree murder. Gasps rippled through the courtroom, relief and anguish colliding in the collective response. Ryan's shocked expression remained frozen in time, his life irrevocably altered in an instant. As he was led away in handcuffs, The weight of his actions pressed deeply on Detective Jensen. Justice had prevailed. An undeniable shadow lingered over Cedar Grove, a reminder that beneath the thinnest layer of trust, darkness could take root. The echoes of Emily's laughter resonated, a memory woven into the fabric of the town that would forever be marked by loss, reflection, and the chilling reminder of fragility in even the closest friendships. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. In the weeks following the trial, Cedar Grove began its slow crawl toward a semblance of normalcy. But the echoes of Emily's story lingered like a ghost, haunting every corner of the town. The physical remembrance mural of Emily's vibrant smile painted on the side of the community center stood testament to her life, a tribute that now felt bittersweet. While the town would always remember her presence, it was the absence that left the deepest impact. Detective Jensen found himself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions as he navigated the aftermath of the case. The victory in securing a conviction felt hollow. It was but a bandage on a wound that would not heal. Photographs from Emily's camera revealed a world full of life, laughter, and hopes that had abruptly ended, and he often found himself revisiting the imagery, yearning for closure that felt perpetually out of reach. Jensen returned to the station, now a hub of renewed discussions about safety and community vigilance. Town meetings erupted with outcries for increased neighborhood watch programs and preventative measures. While the community sought refuge in unity, an uncomfortable truth emerged: the threat had been within their midst, shedding light on the fragility of trust among friends and neighbors. As the days turned cooler and shadows lengthened, Jensen received an unexpected visit from Lisa, who wanted to talk. They sat in his office, the walls adorned with case files, a stark reminder of the menacing reality that lurked beyond the mundane. I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt," she confessed, her voice wavering. "I wish I had pushed her more, listened harder. Maybe she would still be here." Jensen nodded, understanding the weight of survivor's guilt. He had experienced similar thoughts, despite knowing that they hadn't anticipated the darkness within Ryan. "Sometimes, it's not about what we could have done differently," he replied gently. "It's about what we can learn to do better for each other moving forward." In the weeks that followed, the fabric of Cedar Grove slowly stitched itself back together. Support groups blossomed out of tragedy, promoting openness in conversations about mental health and safety. Emily's friends became advocates for local youth, sharing her art and passion for photography, while raising awareness surrounding the signs of unhealthy relationships. Detective Jensen took solace in the gradual healing of the community, though the scar of Emily's loss remained indelible. He watched as the town banded together, resilient, emerging from the shadows of a harrowing experience with a newfound determination to look after each other. The stillness of Cedar Grove would never feel the same again, but as laughter once again filled the streets, there was a glimmer of hope, a collective promise not to allow the darkness to claim another soul without a fight. Chapter 10. Reflection. As the last remnants of autumn began to fall, Detective Jensen stood at the edge of the Stone Bridge Trail, lost in thought. The air was crisp, the golden leaves crunching beneath his feet, while the distant sound of laughter echoed faintly. Children playing, friends gathering, life continuing in the wake of tragedy. But for Jensen, every step felt heavy, weighed down by the memories of Emily and the dark shadows that had danced around her life. Often, he would replay the details of the case in his mind, a relentless loop of faces, words, and emotions that propelled him forward in his work, yet clung to a part of him that wished for resolution. The harsh reality blasted through his thoughts, the knowledge that brutality existed even in the most serene corners of the world. It was a burden he couldn't shake off, one that served as a constant reminder of the duty he had sworn to uphold, to protect, and to serve. Yet, feeling the limits of those promises. In that tranquil moment on the trail, Jensen found a sliver of resolve amidst his reflections. He vowed not to let Emily's story fade into the backdrop of Cedar Grove's lore. Instead, he sought to inspire diligence and compassion within the community, urging others to listen, to support, and to remain vigilant. He realized that healing was a gradual process, one that required not only time, but also the courage to face fears head-on and turn sorrow into strength. The path forward was uncertain, but as he turned to leave, the warmth of commitment sparked within him a determination to ensure that no one would again feel as alone as Emily had. One loss would become a catalyst for teaching others to navigate the shadows, illuminating the importance of connection and awareness, while honoring the memory of a life that had made the world a little more beautiful.